I know from my reading that Vi was very involved with the Salvation Army.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, that was we belonged to, she belonged to Trinity Lutheran, I belonged to Emmanuel Lutheran when we got married. Mm-hmm. And then we stayed at Trinity, we kind of stayed with Trinity. And then she was home one day and a fellow knocked on the door, and he was a new Methodist pastor who had been sent to Rockford. Oh, and he was going to build a new church on Alpine Road and by High Crest.
Oh, that's the one across the street from Holy Family.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah.
And he said, we're looking for members who'd want to join our group. We'll meet in a school for maybe 1 or 2 years, the Wake Hill School, I think it was, or not Wake Hill, but a school up there. Sure. And then we'll build a building and have a church. And then he found out that my wife played the piano and the organ. Oh, we would love to have you. Oh, if you could be a member of the church. And so then we decided, well, let's join. Be a small group, new people, and it'd be kind of fun to start out that way. So we met at this school, I can't think of the name of it, for about 2 years. And then, of course, Vi played the piano, and then they built the church. And then she was the organist and the piano player. And then we had Sunday school. And I've got at the dedication of the school, I got a picture of Bun. And he's got a shovel there, and he's got his foot on the shovel, and it's the cutest picture.
How old was he at the time?
Well, he must have been about 6 years old.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Just a young kid, And
right.
So that's been a great experience. And then my uncle Einer was a member of the advisory board of the Salvation Army.
Okay.
And then he wanted to retire. So he asked the Major Alphabet, the head officer, and he said, and they asked me, he said, would you want to be an advisory board member? And they said, well, sure, you can have your grandson or your relative take your place. So I was an advisory board member. And then after a year or two, they needed somebody else, and Vi was put on she was the first woman advisory board member in Rockford. And then we worked, and then later on I became the president of the advisory board, and then we built the new buildings up there on 18th Avenue and tore down the old buildings, and so we became a real important part. Then at that time, we were still going to Christ Methodist Church, and then the officer said, he said, Carlson, what do you do on Thursday nights? And I said, no, we're home watching. Well, we have a service at the Salvation Army. Why don't you come down some Thursday night? Okay. So then we started to go on Thursday night, and they have a real good band and a wonderful preaching and everything.
Yeah.
And then probably 6 months later, they had an invitation to go forward if you want to accept Christ as your Savior. Sure. And I told Vi, let's go forward. And so we knelt down and we prayed. And I just felt like, what a big weight off my shoulders. And then we decided, well, let's join the Salvation Army.
Okay.
So then we became members of the Salvation Army, and then the first thing he told me, he said, now that you're a Salvationist, and you've got to go to the jail with us and give your witness to all the prisoners. And I'm still going to the jail. That's been many years ago. But it's been a great experience, because the Army has done some wonderful things in Rockford here. So it's been great.
And they show the love and the grace of God in a very tangible way with people.
Now here's something new that I haven't been told. Through the years, there was a woman, she was about our age. Her name was Ada Catherine Sorensen.
Okay. And
her father was an engineer at Woodard Governor. And of course they were married. They lived down on Jackson Street, and Ada lived with them. And of course through the years he dies, and Ada was single, and then Vi met her, and Ada played the piano. And she would come out to Vi's Antiques, and they would sit down at the piano and play duets. And then pretty soon we got closer and closer to Ada, and so we would invite her to any of the family birthday parties, Christmas, whatever. And so Vi and Ada became very close.
Okay.
Well, then in 2012, my wife got sick. She got cancer, and she passed away. And then in 2013, Ada called me on the phone, and she says, Ed, she said, oh, I feel so bad. But she said, I'm going to leave something in the will. to the Salvation Army. And so then I talked to one of the Salvation Army officers. He said, "Be sure to put Rockford Salvation Army for local purposes only."
Well, okay. Yeah.
And then I heard that it's in the will now.
Okay.
And I'll just mention this. At that time, Ada said, "You know how much stock my dad had in the company?" And I said, "Woodard, $9 million."
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that's.
So we're going to go to a memorial service today for Ada. She just passed away.
She did?
And we're going to go to the memorial service. And of course, all the family knows about this, and the Army knows about it. But it's going to be a real nice memorial. Her relatives are coming from different places, so it's going to be a kind of a big event today at 2 o'clock. So.
Well, and how old was she when she?
She was 88.
She did well.
Yeah, and she we had talked to her to be sure to leave the old house and go to Wesley Willows.
Yeah.
And but she bought an apartment or paid down, but it was not ready.
Right.
But they let her come anyways and into another older apartment there, and then she got sick and she just passed away about 3 weeks ago. But so we're going to meet the relatives today, and my son-in-law Randy's going to give a message about the family and telling about some of these experiences that we had. But Ada was a wonderful person, and just like a sister to my wife through the years. So I mean, it's a great experience.
Very encouraging.
Very encouraging for us, you know.